My name is David Wade. I don't think it is a controversial assertion that Naperville D203 is highly regarded and has provided very high quality instruction to the students for decades, to the point that the district schools are a primary pull factor for families who move here. Thanks to all of our educators for that. While none of us should want or desire any kind of stasis, any radical revisions to the curriculum and how students are treated and encouraged to interact call for careful consideration. Accordingly, in order to protect students' rights under the 14th Amendment and Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, I respectfully request that this board, the superintendent, and other education professionals scrutinize and, where possible, shut down any curriculum, instruction, or workshop that asserts, first, that any race is inherently superior or inferior to any other. Second, that any individual's moral character is determined by his or her race or culture. Third, that any individual is racist or oppressive, whether consciously or unconsciously, by virtue of his or her race. Fourth, that any individual is privileged solely by virtue of his or her race. Fifth, that any individual participates in, quote, systemic racism by virtue of his or her race. Sixth, that any individual, by virtue of his or her race, bears responsibility for the actions of other members of his or her race. Finally, that any student, or for that matter, staff, administrator, or teacher, be shamed for his or her race. I do hope that the board takes my comments in the spirit in which they are intended. Thank you.
I have watched my mom come and speak at these meetings. I hope that you will speak to the people in charge about having kids wear masks all day long. My sister Lila has a disability, and it is hard for people to understand her. She goes to Ann Reed. We try to understand what she is saying by looking at her lips, but it's hard when she is masked and it seems like she talks less. It seems like an unfair advantage to have her mouth covered when she is learning to say all of her sounds. If we do masks another year, I think it'll be extra hard for her to have her lips covered and her teacher's lips covered. My brother Ben is in 2nd grade and he doesn't mind wearing the masks, but I do. Sometimes it's hard to tell when someone is upset at you or interested in talking to you. With a mask, they may look like they don't want to talk to you, but if I could see the smile on their face, then it would be easier to know if they wanted to play. When I'm doing math work and I'm trying to concentrate, I really notice my mask. It is distracting me and it just bugs me. I feel like sometimes I can't get full breaths and have to pull it down, even though we are not supposed to. Some days we don't get mask breaks. When we come inside from recess and we've been running around, it's really not a good feeling to go back to school and try to concentrate with the mask on because my mask is hot and sweaty. Another thing I notice is kids who are quieter just don't bother talking in class as much. We won't be able to understand some of my classmates, and the teacher says, "Sorry, I can't hear you. You need to say it again." After a while, it feels like it would just be easier to not raise your hand because you know everyone can't understand you anyways. Another thing that doesn't make sense is that we don't have to wear masks when we are outside on the weekends with friends playing soccer or swimming. But at school, it's not safe at recess. I'm also going to summer camp this summer, which I'm excited about. And I don't have to wear them at summer camp. Summer camp is a lot like school. You are with the same friends every day, inside and outside. So why is that okay, but school is not? Do the teachers want us all to wear masks all the time? If you don't agree with the state of Illinois, will you speak up for us?
My name is Doug McGregor. I'm a parent and a taxpayer. In April 2019, District 203 began a series of 3 open forums for diversity and inclusion where we were introduced to Dr. Leaks. We are shown a series of slides by Superintendent Bridges and Assistant Superintendent Patrick Knowlton that showed the achievement gap between Asians, whites, Hispanics, and blacks. Across the nation, state, and here in Naperville, blacks were shown to be far behind. Every academic knows this, and it's been like this for decades. We were told the reason for hiring Dr. Leaks was to close that achievement gap. To be clear, the taxpayers of Naperville were told that hiring a Director of Diversity and Inclusion was for the purpose of closing the achievement gap. We know there are other initiatives coming, but that was the thrust of that first forum. And according to all of you, the way to raise test scores for blacks is to force critical race theory down the throats of teachers, staff, students, and taxpayers. Critical race theory is pure Marxism. It separates human beings by race and teaches that all whites are oppressors and blacks are oppressed. It's blatant racism. Here's Ibram X. Kendi in his own words. The only remedy for past discrimination is present discrimination. The only remedy for present discrimination is future discrimination. This is the filth the taxpayers of Naperville District 203 are paying Dr. Leaks $128,000 a year for. Critical race theory is against meritocracy, hard work, personal initiative. Critical race theory teaches that everything boils down to race and that whites have only benefited from a system of white supremacy, white privilege, and systemic racism. So to you, Dr. Bridges, if you truly believe in critical race theory and teaching it in our schools, why haven't you resigned? Because your station in life, your position of power and prestige and wealth were not achieved by talent, hard work, talent, and skill. They were all attained by white supremacy, white privilege, and stomping on the backs of marginalized people of color. So set an example. Walk away tonight, not tomorrow, not after breakfast, right now. Leave your position, your $286,000 a year salary, and your pension, and give it to a marginalized person of color. You owe it to the taxpayers of Naperville to set this example. You guys wanted an uncomfortable conversation. You got one.